Okay, on this tabs exercise, practice exercise, we are ready to move on to the second section, which is the annual report sample. This you will need to copy and paste the text box that you are going to then format to look more like an annual report. What this looks like in the end is right here. I have mine finished. So this is an InDesign file. So annual reports are oftentimes things that we'll have to do in InDesign, and they do have a little bit of design component to them, but most of it is technical. And the technical aspects of them include aligning things properly. Sometimes they're right alignments, sometimes they're decimal point alignments. In this particular instance, these are all right aligned, meaning they're lined perfectly up on the right-hand edges, and you can see how they're loose out on the left or ragged. We also are going to cover how to do these paragraph rules. So it appears as if there are, solid chunks of color for each or every other line of type. So we have a couple of different paragraph rules applied here. We have a rule below, which is the black line, and we have a rule above, which is the gray, and that's been offset and made thick so that will be the same height as the space that the text occupies. All right, so this is going to be using center and right aligned tabs as well as paragraph rules. The center tabs are here under America's percentage of total Americans stores, America's stores, international percentage total, and those are all center tabs. Okay, so we're going to be doing center tabs, right tabs, plus some paragraph rules. Now I will reference this to double check my fonts and my point sizes and lettering. I believe we're going to be using Times New Roman on this, and that's just a default kind of font that you may have loaded. I did provide, I believe, a font for that. All right, first off, I'm going to select all that text and make it Times New Roman just to get it started. So just Times New Roman, just the old plain old regular, just to start out with. Now, which one do I use? Times New Roman, MT, regular, really, it does kind of matter, but it doesn't. So whatever one I supplied would be the best, because it will, even though they're two different, they're the same name, Times New Roman, one is a different manufacturer than the other. So they're going to be spaced slightly differently. I'm just using the Times New Roman regular. So I'm going to find Times New Roman regular. Okay, now we're ready to format the text. Now, before we do, I'm going to go to paragraph styles, and we're going to create a new paragraph style set or group by clicking on the Create New Style Group button, which is a folder. And you would name this Annual Report. So Annual Report. And any paragraph style you're going to create will go into the Annual Report set, okay, or group. Now, I don't create paragraph styles for things that aren't used over and over again. So for revenue components and for that description, there's no paragraph style for these. So for revenue description, it's Times New Roman bold 12 over auto leading. So we'll go ahead and set that. 12 bold auto is already selected. For the description underneath it, it's Times New Roman regular 11 over auto leading. So it may already be that way. Yep, it is. For the next area, we're talking Times New Roman 11 bold. Now it does have some space above it, or one of two things happens. Either this paragraph has space below it, or this has space above it. It just depends on if we're using paragraph styles or not. So let's see what we have here. This certainly does have a space above it. We can see it right here in the control panel for the paragraph control formatting, or paragraph formatting control. So let's make this the Times New Roman bold, and we'll make it the 11 point, and then we make it have a little bit of space above it. So that's not necessarily tabs or anything, but we're just kind of getting things pulled together. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to set this type here, America's of total America stores, etc. We're going to set that the way it needs to be set. So it is pretty small. It's 8-point type Times New Roman. So first off, I'm going to do that, make it 8-point type, because if I don't, it won't fit very well. I'll have a real hard time setting my tabs. Now, this is not necessarily an easy tab to set, because we don't know how things are going to align just yet. Oops, that's not the right one. Excuse me. Pardon me. Let's get that back to what it was. We need to be on the Americas. And again, that was 8. I do already have, as you can see, the hidden characters are on. So you can see that there's a tab, the tab key was hit. That is a hidden character for showing that the tab key was hit to get to move over. But we need to get those tabs in the correct positions. So let's get that line started. Now this one's a little tough because all these things are different lengths as far as their look. Like as a percentage of total international scores is really long as compared to total. So we're going to have to eyeball this and optically make these look like they're the same distance apart. So let's bring up the tabs, type and tabs. Now, if your tabs are not lined up to your column, click on the little positions panel so it aligns. These are center aligned tabs. So I'm going to choose this center justified tab item. Now, I usually start from the beginning and then go to the end. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I believe, different items. Let me make sure this is correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I'm missing something. Total of percentage of total stores. So guys, we're going to have to type that in there. Something I missed after I did this. So put your cursor on there and hit the tab key once and put percentage of total stores. So this is something that was missed when it was typeset originally. So we have 6 tabs actually to deal with. So what I do is I get that center tab and I start kind of popping it in here. 1, 2, move it. Let's see, person, and then international needs a tab. Bring it back. I don't want a lot of space between these because I will run out of room. This one, pull it back. Total, let's move it. You can see my percentage of total stores doesn't have enough room. So I am going to have to sit and click and drag these so that they are giving the final one enough room to breathe here. And I'll deal with the optical spacing between these after I get the final one set. Okay, so percentage of total, I'm going to move it so that those words are almost all the way to the edge. Not quite. I want to give it a little bit of space because I'm going to color this white. Whoops, there's another word in there, stores. There we go. I'm going to color this white and we're going to put a black band behind it, a paragraph rule. Now, once I get this in here, Americas should probably be, if I look at this, you'll see Americas is in from the words company operated stores just a little bit, but we have not set company operated stores. So right now, there's on my example, there's a lot of space here, but in what I'm doing currently, there's not. So what I would do is just kind of pop this in so Americas just kind of darn near just touches the S or goes a little over the S. You'll have plenty of space once we set company operated stores in the right point size. So now I just look at the black between each of these, which indicates space, and I'm going to eyeball this until it feels like they're all equal. Right now, this is a part that takes the longest, I think. When you're fresh and doing this without any guidance, and it's your first time doing something like this, or it's your first time setting up the paragraph style and tabs, this part takes the longest because you're trying to make it look like these have about the same amount of space, and there's no automatic button for that. So we're trying to give this a really nice amount of space between them that's about equal. So I'm just kind of comparing the spaces, and when they feel about equal, I'll be pretty happy with it and I'll move on. So these feel about equal. And again, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 center tab icons up in this tabs ruler. Now I'm not ready to create a paragraph style for this yet because this text needs to be white. It needs a little space above it, and it needs to have a black paragraph rule behind it. So I'm going to go to my swatches panel, Click on the text color fill, make that paper. Fly out to the flyout menu on the control panel and choose the paragraph rules option. Turn the rule, it can be above or below, it really doesn't matter on this. So I'm going to turn the rule above on. Now, the only problem is we can't see it because this is selected. I will increase that rule quite a bit. Let's see where it is. I can't even see it. See, that point size is 8. So this won't be really big. It might be, 10 or 12 points. And for text color, instead of text color, I want to make that black. Now I can see it. No wonder I couldn't see it. It was the color was the same as the text, which was white. I'm going to reduce that down just a little bit. Let's take it down a little bit more. And then I'm going to offset it. Oops. And, I may have to click OK and see what it's doing. I'm going to bring it up a little bit more, probably 10, and offset it till it comes down and it kind of holds the text, but it has an equal space above and below. Now, this is a problem because there's more space below. So on the default offset numbers, if I click up, it's too high. If I click down, it's too low. So I go, I take about half of this. So maybe a 0.03 will work. Oops, let me try that again, 0.03. And that feels about right. I can always edit that if I have to. And I'm going to hit OK. And when I click off of it, you'll see that that now has black behind it. I also will need to put a little bit of space before this so that it gets off of the edge of the company operated license store, etc. All right, so that's pretty well set. Now let's move on to the next line of type, the company operated stores and all those numbers. This is Times New Roman, 9 over auto, and we do have to set right tabs for these. These are not center tabs. The reason why you can tell that is all the percentages are lined up perfectly on top of one another, and if they were right or center tabs, they would be pushed off to the edges. So all the last numbers or last elements are aligned perfectly on the rights, whereas everything on the left is ragged. So this is 9 over 10 regular. So let's go ahead and make that 9 over 10. 9, and then hit the tab key, type in 10 for the leading, hit the tab key, and it'll stick. So there we have it. Now, is there an offset from the top a little bit? It looks like there might be. The type is not touching the black line. So it does appear that we do need to put a little bit of space above this, just a little, so it'll not be so off of the top. Now, this default number, again, 0.0625 is too much. So, this might be a 0.02 on the space above, just enough to get it so it's not crowded up there. Okay. Now, as far as the tab goes, let's set a right tab. Now, I typically zoom in so I can see the edges of the column so I can get the full ruler in here. So this is why I'm zoomed in this way. I'm going to go to type and tabs, and it will automatically put the ruler, hopefully aligned to the column. So it's above the text frame. We are looking at the text for company operated stores. Now, if it bothers you, you can always do this and cover up the other text if it bothers you. Just make sure it's aligned to the edges of the frame. Now, I want right tab. So this is my right tab item. So I'm just going to kind of pop these in where I need them. So I need one just around below Americas. I need one as a total part of the American stores. These are not going to be in the right position. One around international. Oops, those are center tabs. Excuse me. Now, if you put a wrong tab in there, click on the tab and make sure then you click on the tab that you want. So these were not supposed to be centered. I thought I clicked on my right tab, but it gave me centered. So let's try that again. I need one as a percentage of international stores, and I need one under total, and then another under total percentage. Now, these are not in the right position, but I've got them generally where they're falling under where they need to go. Now, to edit these, I'm just going to click on them and pull them until they look optically nice and centered underneath the word above them. So for the 10.109, I want that to optically kind of work well underneath Americas. Same thing with this 55% optically. I want it to kind of look nice underneath as a percentage of total American stores. So I'm looking to the left and the right. And I'm like, okay, what's optically centered? International, that one's a little easier. But if it was a center tab, that'd be great because I could just put it in the same location, but these are not center tabs. So this is kind of the more challenging kind of thing that I would have to work on is, I've got to work out optical balance. And I suppose if I wanted to get really technical, I could do math, but this is easier to do optical. There we go. Now I know this is a lot to look at and hard on the eyes, but we can see that the numbers now appear as if they're pretty much centered underneath each of the headers. And when I like what I see, I'm going to close the tabs. And I'll click off of it so we can see it a little bit better. So we can kind of get a good idea. I might even hit the W key, assuming I'm not in a text box. And that kind of gets rid of those hidden characters and gives it a little bit cleaner look. And I can kind of see if these are better centered. It looks like they're pretty good optically centered. They're not a center tab. Now, I will go ahead and put a paragraph rule on this. So I'm going to go into my paragraph rules on the character control panel or paragraph control panel flyout menu. Click to paragraph rules. And this will be, this does have a rule below. It's got a black rule. So I'm going to turn the rule below on. And it's writing right up on the bottom of that. So I'm going to offset that just a little bit. Again, here, yeah, that looks pretty good. The 0.0625 looks pretty good. Needs a little bit of air, so I'm going to do that. Don't worry about what's going on underneath it. And I also need a gray rule behind this. So I'm going to click off of rule below and choose rule above, turn it on. I'm going to thicken this thing quite a bit. Offset it just a smidge, thicken it some more. And instead of text color, just regular, I'm going to choose black. Then it gives me the opportunity to tint it. So let's say I've got it 20%. Now, if that lines up, great. If it doesn't, I'll have to modify this. So I'm going to hit OK. And it was lining up. I was watching it. This gray perfectly fits in that space because I was actually watching it when I was doing my paragraph rules. I was just sitting there, watching the thickness, making sure it worked. So, 13 was not enough, you can see, and 12 is not enough. $14 was perfect. Actually, 13 might even work. Let me hit OK if I don't have any. Oh, nope, 13 is no good. So you guys, this is what I do is I tend to zoom in, but I was not zoomed in. Excuse me. I was zoomed out, but I could still kind of tell what was going on. But this all worked out. 14-point offset of default 0.0625 minus, and it's black, not text color, and tint 20%. Now we're ready to make a paragraph style out of that. So I'm going to go to my paragraph styles, click on the annual report paragraph style set, and hit the plus sign. And this will be called a right tabbed gray band. I don't know, if you want to call it something shorter, you're more than welcome to. So that's my right tabbed gray band text. Now I'm going to go ahead and apply that to all of these lines of type. Now I'm not sure what's happening, but I'm missing the paragraph rule below. That is really odd. So I'm going to have to edit this and see what's going on. Maybe the paragraph rule I was using, let's see, paragraph rules, there they are. Maybe the paragraph rule above is a little too thick, perhaps. Maybe the offset is a little too much. So, I may have to go and change around and say maybe the offset is 0.05, hit the tab. It's like, no, that's still not showing up. So this is a little bit of a conundrum. It's like, why is the little black line not showing up on all of them? Because if I go to rule below, it is on. Maybe if I choose black, it'll change, but I don't think so. And I'm like, where is this thing? So this is a problem. It seems that the rule above may be a little too thick. Take that down. Aha, there we go. It's thick enough that it overlaps the black band. So this is a problem. So we're going to go back to the rule below, and we're going to adjust the offset just a little bit. I want to bring that up, I think. This is kind of a conundrum, isn't it? So let's bring that up just a little bit. All right, so I'm going to put a number in here, 0.03. There we go. That's good, 0.03. And it's showing up now. And then on the rule above, we're going to adjust it, make the weight a little heavier. There we go. The rule weight is 12. The offset 0.05. Looks like things are showing up now. I'm going to hit OK. So when you have both rule above and rule below on, you have to be very careful about how thick those rules are so that they don't overlap one another. Now, this does create a problem with the top piece. So in order to solve that problem, you know what I'm going to do there? I am going to just adjust the paragraph rule for this. We never created a paragraph style for it because it's only used once. So I'm going to adjust the paragraph rule for this up here and make it thicker. So I'm going to go back to the flyout menu, go to paragraph rules. I'm going to just make this a little bit thicker, a little bit more of an offset, hit OK. And let's see if that killed that white space. It sure did. Okay, so that's a little tougher. Now, if I were using this over and over again, I would say that as a paragraph style. I do think that this is getting a little close to the top. So I might do a slight baseline shift on this text that shifts the baseline of text down a little bit. So I'm going to go to the character formatting and just one little pop on the baseline shift, and that fits better in there. I don't like doing a baseline shift very often, but occasionally I will do that. Now this is looking a lot better and professional. The only problem is the licensed stores doesn't have the gray band. So we're going to have to go in here, take off the gray band. So go to paragraph rules and turn off the rule above, hit OK. And you could make a paragraph style from that. So this would be right tab gray band. This would be right tabbed. We'll just call it white band just to say a little time band. There we go. So that's done. Now the last little bit here is the stuff below it. This is a pretty small type. It's 8/9 Times New Roman. So we will go ahead and click 4 times on that, make that 8/9 Times New Roman. And it's default leading. Oh, no, it's not. 8/9 tab. There we go. And maybe put a little space above it because it is riding right up on top of that line. Backwards P for paragraph formatting controls. Put a little space before. And now it's happy. It's not so crowded. I'm going to save that. And that concludes this portion of the tabs practice, but we have one more to do after this. So we'll go ahead and stop the recording and pick up a new recording for the last one.